Hi guys, good morning. My name is Amy Gill, your pharmacist that cares. And I promised you for the last 2 weeks, I've told you we were going to have a special guest on today's episode. So probably you guys, several of you probably guessed who the special guest was going to be. And yes, it is Dr. Gill.
Well, hello. Hi. Well, thanks, Amy, for having me.
Absolutely. So I wanted to kind of go over the overview of the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine that we've been talking about for the last several weeks. And then we'll ask Dr. Gill a few questions, and he can kind of give us his insight into each of these and definitely his expertise. So just to review the 6 pillars, if you guys missed parts 1, 2, and 3, definitely go back and watch those. But the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine include diet, exercise, modification of unhealthy habits such as smoking, sleep, reduction of stress, and socialization. So, can you tell us how can you reduce the incidence of disease such as diabetes, heart disease, cancer by looking at these 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine?
You know, I'll tell you this. My eyes were open when I went to that conference earlier this year to Orlando, and I'm certifying for the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. It's actually a board certification, and I'm going to be sitting for it next year, and I'm extremely excited. At the conference, I met some really amazing people. And the data is phenomenal. I don't want to really bore your listeners with all the details, but briefly put, the impact of all these chronic diseases on healthcare is tremendous, as we all know. You know, it's becoming increasingly a substantial portion of the GDP, not to say about all the burden it puts on the individual and the families, and we're talking all these diseases like diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, obesity, which is a disease, and also cancer. And if you look at the data, if you modify the diet and you primarily go to a plant-based diet, you reduce the incidence of diabetes by 80%, heart disease by close to 90%, hypertension the same order of magnitude, and even cancer by 20 to 40%. So, I mean, it is tremendous, and there's enough evidence that it's almost irrefutable, this disadvantage from going to a plant-based diet. So, of course, you know, the thing is, should everybody become vegan? And the answer is no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we all have scope for improvement, you know, and they even talked about it at the conference, about how you can have like meat-free Mondays, meat-free Wednesdays, you know, or something along those lines. And that's a start. And there's like, you know, it's almost like a family affair if you start creative cooking. And I think that's a very interesting thing to do. Mm-hmm. But to answer your question, that's the long answer to your question about why I think this is such an important thing and how I personally am motivated to pursue it.
But I think it is important to involve your family, because if they're part of it, they're going to want to, they're going to want to eat those things. I know Alex was helping chop up the stuff for the guacamole. It's fun for them. So, you know, don't shy away. Let them help you as much as they can. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So sleep medicine is one of your expertise.
Right.
So I want you to tell us what things should you avoid that could help you have better sleep?
Right. So, you know, the main thing is to make sure that you get away from exposure to your computer screens, TV screens. Blue light is extremely detrimental to sleep. And usually you shouldn't expose yourself to blue light for at least 3 to 4 hours prior to sleep time. Your sleep time should be set, regardless if it's the weekend or the weekday. Your wake-up time should also be a set time. You should not vary your times by a lot. You know, of course, we all have unforeseen things happen. That's of course, you know, unavoidable, but generally try to stay to your sleep time, wake times as best as possible. And of course, your room should be dark, it should be cool, and of course, you know, there shouldn't be a lot of noise, or no noise actually. And then you shouldn't really exercise within 2 to 3 hours of your set sleep time, and of course not drink any caffeine for 4 hours prior to your sleep time. So those are the basic things. And you know, and if you have a sleep disorder, that should be diagnosed at the earliest and then addressed. And most sleep disorders are addressed not with medicine, but with behavioral change. What's called combined behavioral therapy, CBT, is one of the proven and best approaches to address that. And your physician can help you with that. And a lot of teenagers now, I see this a lot about what's called the delayed phase sleep disorder. Teenagers tend to sleep late at night and then wake up in the morning late. And then when they have to get up early in the morning to go to school, it's actually a very difficult thing for them. And without going into the physiology of the sleep-wake cycle, it is extremely difficult to reset that sleep cycle. So that's a habit that should be nipped early if it's happening in teenagers, and so it doesn't become a problem later on. And of course, sleep, diet plays a big role in sleeping. If you're going to eat close to your bedtime, you're not going to be sleeping well, and that's another big issue. And then stress plays a huge role. If you're stressed out, that's going to be detrimental to your sleep. Alcohol is a big problem. Alcohol is a great inducer of sleep, but because the half-life of alcohol is so short, one of the articles talks about how alcohol would be a great sleep aid if only you could keep drinking while sleeping, or have an IV of alcohol, because it doesn't last long in your system. So it's a good inducer, but not a sustainer of sleep, and that's why sleep is extremely fractured. And that's one of the reasons why people have hangover. There are 3 different causes of hangover, and one of them is a fractured sleep after a night of binge drinking or even drinking, and even any amount of alcohol will do that. Also, it disrupts your REM sleep. The REM sleep is when we dream, and that's almost like sleep that restores our physiological milieu. And that is a big issue too with alcohol. So those are all different things people can try to sort of normalize sleep and optimize sleep.
I think we could do a whole episode just on sleep with him, since
Yeah,
that is one of his specialties. I think we probably could actually break down all 6 of these, and we could have him. So maybe we can do another series coming
Sure.
up. That would be fun.
Yeah.
So since we've been talking about stress, the holidays, we're still kind of in the middle, right? People are still, we're not to New Year's yet, so there's still so much going on. So stress was that was a good thing to lead into my next question is, so what is the association with stress and certain kinds of cancer?
Right. So there was a study, and I don't know how long ago, but actually there were certain countries in Europe, and there people who work a swing shift, particularly nurses who work nights, who don't sleep well, stressed out, their incidence of breast cancer was a lot higher, statistically higher than a cohort of nurses that didn't work swing shifts and didn't stay up at night, sleep deprivation, and didn't work high-risk jobs or high-risk parts of the hospital. And to the point that those countries were actually giving them workers' compensation if they got breast cancer. So cancer is definitely associated with stress and a higher incidence of that. If you look at the risk factors for lung cancer, of course, the first one is smoking. But a close second, you'd expect a close second to be either family history or something else like exposure to toxins in the environment and so on and so forth. But a close second is stress. So yeah, stress is extremely toxic, and we're finding out more and more about it, especially as we grow more involved in daily stressful activities. So it's good to take time out, and there is something to be said about doing meditation or some kind of feedback relaxation, and that really has been shown to help lower stress and thereby lower the burden of chronic disease.
Well, I know when I talked about stress, I talked about how this fits into all 6 pillars. If you are so stressed, you're not going to be eating right. You're not going to be trying to make those healthy meals. You're not going to be taking time to exercise. And you're not going to be sleeping well. All these things really connect back to that. So maybe we should do a whole nother episode on that as well. I think we'll look to that.
It is. These are all interconnected. Your diet, and of course, sleep deprivation releases a hormone called ghrelin. And that hormone basically enhances your appetite. So it increases your appetite. So sleep deprivation, stress leads to sleep deprivation increases your appetite, leads to obesity, leads to unhealthy eating, and all the attendant problems with that. So yeah, they're all linked, basically. It's almost a holistic approach.
Right.
And it starts with one pillar, second pillar, and they're sort of all linked together.
Right. But it definitely starts by making those changes today, not saying I'm going to start tomorrow. You have to make,
and that's
you
the
have
hard
to do
thing.
that.
And that's really the hard part, is to start. and to sustain it. So therefore, it's extremely important. And we're in our practice are trying to now incorporate this into our daily practice. As we see patients, we're talking to them more and more about healthy living, healthy lives, healthy choices, and hopefully we're going to have a mechanism in place when we will be able to follow through with the patients once they do decide to take that step to change. I think that's critical because everyone is going to have a relapse. It's difficult to sustain, especially in the face of all these ads you see on TV and everywhere, and all these available fast food places. And the stress again about going home and getting together.
What's for dinner? Well, even just what's for dinner.
So I think that's the key to this: is how do you sustain this healthy lifestyle?
Right. But I think the thing is not to say, oh, I'm going to start the first of the year. I'll wait till after the holidays. There's nothing magic that happens on January 1st, other than it becomes the next year. Nothing happens within you. You have to make that change now. Yes, there's always going to be those things, but as long as you do them in moderation, you should enjoy those things when you're together with your family, but make good, healthy choices the rest of the time of the day and the rest of the time of the year. And that's really what is key, because you can't sustain that if you in your head, you're depriving yourself of the things that you look forward to.
And that's the key, though. The key is not to make a sea change, in your lifestyle. The key is to make a small change and then follow through on that. That's how I see it. That's really the key, is in increments.
Right. Well, I think we're going to have to continue this and do some more of these interviews. So thank you so much, Dr.
It was a
Gill.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
And thank you guys for listening. If there are certain topics that you would like to hear from him, let me know. Put them in the comments, message me, and we will definitely get him back. I think I can probably twist his arm to do that again. So thank you guys so much, and Happy New Year. My name is Amy Gill with Dr. Gill, your pharmacist that cares.
Bye.